Welcome back, golfers. Today I'm going to drop some golf knowledge on you. We're going to take a little bit of a quiz, and I'm going to give you my 10 things in golf that most golfers don't know. Most of you golfers are probably going to fail this. So at the end, drop me a comment. Let me know how many of these things you already knew. If you've been enjoying my videos, think about hitting that subscribe button. So I'm here at hole number 9 at Dairy Creek. It's a downhill par 3. So elevation wise, from the white tees, the green sits 20 feet below where the tee box is. I can shoot this using a rangefinder, with a slope on it. So if I shoot this with my slope reading, I can get what the actual distance is and what it actually plays with the drop of 20 feet. But if you don't have one of these, how do you determine what to play this shot? So using a simple calculation of every 20 feet of rise or fall is 5 yards of distance that you need to either take off or add on to your shot. So here, the green sits 20 feet below us, and I have a 130 yard shot, meaning this shot's only going to play 125 yards. So taking into that account, I can confidently come up to this golf shot knowing that I would play 125 yards instead of the 130. And I can put it right on that flag. You ever go travel up at different elevations? Like I'm here in San Luis Obispo, and we're almost at sea level, just above sea level here at Dairy Creek. But if I travel up into the Sierras and play at a golf course that's over 6,000 feet, what kind of change would there be from my distance if I go from sea level up to 6,000 feet, or if you're coming from 6,000 feet back down to sea level? So the question is, do you know what the difference is? So if you're at sea level going up 6,000 feet, you're going to want to add 10% to your golf shot. If you're coming from 6,000 down, 10% less. So a fun trick, if you have a rangefinder, is if you're going from sea level up to towards 6,000 feet or above 6,000 feet, and you want to easily transfer your distances without having to calculate all that, every single shot, is you have a mode on your rangefinder that allows you to go from yards to meters. And if you go from yards to meters and make that change, that is approximately 10%. So you can do that, shoot it in meters, but calculate it, as if it was yards, and you have an easy way to play without having to do all the calculations. You ever wonder why, when hitting off a downhill lie, you come up short on your shots to the green? Even if your rangefinder, your GPS says it's 125 yards or 140 yards to that pin, and you're like, I know I hit that one that distance. If we're hitting off a 6-degree downhill slope, but to a flat pin, let's say the pin's right here, your golf shot off of a flat lie would fly kind of like this. But because you're on a downhill slope, instead of getting that trajectory which comes up to here, it's going to shoot lower onto this plane. So you're basically, if this was your plane, it's now tilted downwards. So now your plane is going here, but now you're landing here instead of down onto this slope. So when you're hitting off a downhill slope, it's actually going to make it so the ball flies shorter. So 6-degree slope, approximately 20 feet of elevation difference, and that will give you about 5 yards more you need to play your shots. So how many of you know, when you go grab a wedge out of your bag, what that extra little number is on, maybe it's on next to the 60-degree or 56-degree number, which is your loft? Obviously everybody knows that's your loft, but what's that extra little number that sits down there? You can kind of see it right there. When we're looking at our wedge and we're looking at you, and you drop it straight vertically down that direction, you can see that the back side of the wedge is higher than the lead edge. So if you put your fingers out and you pointed in that direction, that shows you the number that is on your wedge. So that would be 11 degrees, you know, compared to flat. So there's flat, there's 11 degrees. And that 11 degrees tells you how much forward shaft lean you can have before losing the use of your bounce. We've talked about this in past videos. If your wedge is sitting there, you're pretty much neutraled out. If your wedge is vertical, now you're using that bounce. If your wedge is pushed way forward beyond that point, now you're just turning that club into a shovel. So that number on the wedge, that's your bounce. So a lot of you getting ready to hit a drive off the tee and you're playing in windy conditions. So when you're playing in windy conditions, is it better to tee it up normal and hit it high? Or is it better to put the ball back in your stance to drive it lower? And the answer is you actually want to get the ball high up into the air. So if I'm teeing a ball up, so a ball that's hit off the middle of your stance, sitting or just slightly forward of middle, is going to go lower. And you'd think that would be better for playing in the wind. But when you put a ball back in your stance, it's going to do one of two things. It's going to first create more backspin on the ball, which creates more curve or more lift to that golf ball. And when you have more spin on the ball, it's going to make you less accurate and it's not going to go as far. And number two, because you're putting the ball back in your stance, your trajectory angle coming off that tee shot is going to be low. So if you look at my stats here, my ones I put off my back of my stance are on the bottom of the chart, and you can see that those are between 10 degrees or lower of trajectory off of the tee. And what that's causing to happen is the carry distance isn't as much. You're playing into the wind, it's creating more spin. You're bringing the ball back in your stance, which is creating more spin. And all those things are going to turn into making the ball not fly as far. Now, when we move the ball up in our stance, it's actually helping us reduce the spin that we're hitting on the golf ball. It's allowing us to hit it at a higher trajectory, which is going to allow us to land the ball further. And because we're playing in the wind, we're probably going to get added spin no matter what. The other thing you can do is try to catch the golf ball higher up on the face. That's also going to help reduce spin even more. Golf balls, golf clubs these days are designed to hit low spin rates, and just trust in the equipment that you have. Go ahead, play it how you would normally hit it, hit up on it, reduce the spin as much as you can into the wind, and it'll fly right through it. So we're taking a divot. You ever wonder how long it takes for a divot to grow back? So if you're unaware, a divot that hasn't been fixed or replaced takes about a month to repair itself. And that's if you have proper growing conditions. Sometimes during like the winter time, grasses go dormant and they won't be fixed for maybe till the next spring. Such if you're playing on a grass like a Bermuda grass, which completely goes dormant. If you repair your divot with sand or sea, which is typically on the carts you guys are given, that divot will take approximately 1 to 2 weeks to repair. Now, if you can salvage the divot that you hit, and it has enough soil still underneath it, and you replace that divot and stomp it down, that divot will repair itself in 3 to 7 days depending on growing conditions. So it's super important as golfers to be stewards of your golf course, repair your divots, repair your ball marks when you have a chance. So golfers, recently the USGA made a change to our rules for dropping, and that is to drop a ball at knee height. And there's lots of different ways to drop it. Some people like to take it right off the knee and then just drop it there. Some people like to go off to the side and go there. But no matter how you're looking at this, because we're dropping it close to our knee height, it's bringing the golf ball closer to our body than it used to be, because we used to drop it out here like this, and that gave us at least a yard of space from our body to where the ball is going to land. Now, because we're down here or right on our knee, it's dropping real close to our body. So what happens when this golf ball accidentally strikes our foot when we drop it? So the answer is, as long as you didn't purposely stop that ball, the ball's in play, as long as it's inside your dropping area. So a ball that's dropped strikes you, play it from where it lies. So a mistake that I see a lot of golfers, especially new ones that are getting into the game, is how they hit balls on a driving range. So you can see here, coming up to this range, I just see divot, 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 divot. So if you're hitting a bucket of balls, which could be 90 to 100 balls, and you're putting your ball down and just hitting it from a different space of grass, each of those swings you take and make a divot, now you're going to be taking a new fresh patch of grass away from each of those areas you move the ball to. So if you ever watch a tour player hit balls, or any really good player, what you're going to see is this. So watch how I hit balls in this time-lapse video. So what you want to do after you make the first divot, you place the ball right behind that divot, so right on the end of it. So then you're taking your swing into the next shot. And then you place the ball behind that one and you hit it into the next shot. And then you place the ball behind that divot and you hit your swing into that divot in front. And then over and over and over. And what that's doing, it's reducing the amount of turf you're taking up each time. Because if you're thinking about how we've talked about dollar bill sized divots, and each time you take a dollar bill sized divot with 100 balls, you're going to take all that grass out of your driving range. Now, if you hit into the next divot, you could hit 100 balls and only take up, a strip that's maybe a foot, maybe 2 feet long. And being that it's narrower, like a normal divot, if you're hitting in strips, it's going to grow back much easier. So when you grab a scorecard and you're reading through it, and it's a par 72, but at the end it has these numbers, 72.7 and 134. So what do those numbers mean? So the 72.7 on the scorecard from the black tees here at Dairy Creek, that is your course rating. The 134 is your slope rating. So course rating is based off of a scratch golfer playing, let's say here, a par 72 golf course. And it's what a scratch golfer should shoot over a period of like 50 rounds on average, what their average score should be on the golf course. So the course rating is based off a scratch golfer. Now the slope rating is based off of a bogey golfer. So the slope rating is how golf courses determine how difficult their golf course is. And a golf course that has a lower slope rating is an easier golf course versus a golf course that has a slope rating, say, as high as 155, which would be a really hard slope rating. On average, the USGA looks for a slope rating of 116 as an average golf course. And both these numbers that we're talking about, that helps USGAs or your local handicap associations determine what your handicap is based on the golf course you play. So they can adjust your handicap appropriately. So when you're on a putting green and you have a breaking putt, do you read that putt to the front edge of that hole for the ball to fall into the front edge? So in this example, this is a golfer that might be like you, and you read the putt to fall in the front of the cup, straight in visually to you on a breaking putt. And the majority of most amateurs, when they hit putts, they miss to the low side typically because their speed's not right, and also because the way that they read the putts is to fall in the front of the cup. So you can make putts this way, but you can see when I hit this putt, it goes right over that thing, but you can see how it bounces around inside that hole. Now the proper way to putt, I put a alignment stick down here, and this is showing what that angle of how the ball is supposed to, we just saw came into the hole. Now I put a tee down right in on that line. Now when I go back to read this putt, I'm now going to read the break off of seeing the ball falling into the correct path of the way it's going to curve in. So the center of the cup's not directly facing where your visual is. It's now a little bit off to the side. So you can see when I hit this putt, it goes right over the top of that tee, and then it hits the back of the cup and just falls in. It doesn't have that rattle that the first one did that went in. And you can see me do it. I'm going to do it one more time so you can see it. I'm reading it off that tee, playing my break off of how much that it will break into where that tee position is. A great way to practice. Really train your eyes to see where your stroke should go. Goes right over the top of the tee and falls in. If I hit that one a touch soft, it might still fall in to the low side. If I hit this one a touch hard, it still might fall into the high side. So when you're hitting a putt like this, the main idea is to try to hit that putt so it falls into the center of the cup, and where the center of the cup is determine how that will curve into the hole. Golfers, thank you for watching this week. I appreciate all the support that I get from my viewers of my videos. I hope that you can utilize my videos as a tool to help you get better in this game of golf. And I hope you can use these 10 facts that I gave you to improve your practice, your play, and your experience out on the golf course. Remember, if your feet aren't working, your swing's not working. I'll catch you guys next time.